what's seen currently has repositories of information. And I separate this word repository because your vaccination itself may exist as a digital record somewhere, and that somewhere may be bound by HIPAA, right? One would think that it originated in some format that you were working with a provider in a clinical state, and it was in fact from that scene. And somewhere, when you, the consumer, because there's not many other ways to do it, you pushed a button to challenge and take that and do something else with it and bring it into this other space where it can now be used by non-HIPAA entities. And we don't have a lot of control there because it's not regulated very well. But what we do have is the standards, the data standards that were originated in the health space. And so the non-health providers and opportunistic kind of entities and solutions that are out there, of course, are building their database to model against data that maybe had some benefit of practitioners in the health data space for a decade working on structuring this information in a way that makes it sound and we can put use cases around it. So there's some benefit to standardization from a data standard that I think that's the easy one to check off. Is everybody using it? No. I mean, this space has moved so far and fast and furious that it's really hard to kind of capture everybody's interest in that way, just as not every technology provider in the health space that is in fact bound by HIPAA are using these data standards either. So we've got a lot of work still to do on the actual data side, but mostly it's right. Once it's there, now because you use standards, you can connect and build compatibility or interoperability, as we say, between these databases. And so because it's so easy to move information around, great job, pat our technologists on the back, we made it very easy to do so. Now business comes in and business needs standards on making sure that they know when and where it should be pulled for what purposes. So the actual pass on my phone, all the data may be baked into the QR code that sits on my device, which you can't see because of my background, but there you go. The QR code may in fact bake all the information into it. Some of the health declaration solutions just pack it on the phone. And that actually may be less secure. So it kind of brings up the conversation of security. And so our data folks and security folks are working hard on these networking concepts still, but there's so many challenges at the technical level of doing this. And then the technologists bump up against the privacy and the business folks. And we have not addressed or even brought up the conversation around equity on this panel yet. And so, whether I have a vaccination that can be put into that format and I've been offered that vaccination come into play. And then is that technology going to be readily available? Is the internet going to be wherever I'm required to present that QR code? All these things come into play. And working particularly for those government nations, we've tried to condition for those offline scenarios for those individuals that may have a reason to have an exception and not be presenting a pass, whether that's a reason that they weren't presented an option to get a vaccination, other comorbidities or health issues that may have prevented it, or simply a squeaky wheel situation where they bump up against a contingent of individuals that do push the privacy frame of mind so much that they're just looking for government exceptions to pass through border entry and get into a particular country for a vacation. So there's a lot to do still further.